1. Requiem for a Dream. Let me tell you about a film that many people call brilliant, and at the same time, almost impossible to watch again. The movie is Requiem for a Dream, released in 2000 and directed by Darren Aronofsky. On the surface, the story seems simple. 4 people, 4 dreams, and 4 paths that all begin with hope. But what makes this film so disturbing isn't the story itself. It's the structure. Aronofsky divides the film into 3 seasons: summer, fall, and winter. In summer, everything feels possible. A young man wants to make money and build a future. His girlfriend dreams of opening a fashion store. His best friend believes one good opportunity could change everything. And then there's Sarah Goldfarb, a lonely older woman whose dream is surprisingly small. She wants to appear on television. To her, that moment would mean something powerful: recognition, purpose, the feeling that she still matters. But in order to fit into a red dress she once loved, Sarah begins taking diet pills. At first, it seems harmless. Just one small pill. A simple shortcut. And that's how the spiral begins. Requiem for a Dream doesn't treat addiction as a sudden catastrophe. Instead, it shows something more frightening. A gradual descent. Slow. Relentless. One of the most famous techniques in the film is called the hip-hop montage. Quick cuts. A syringe. Eyes widening. The sound of pills being swallowed. These images repeat again and again. At first, they feel almost rhythmic, but over time, they become frantic, like a heartbeat speeding out of control. Underneath all of it plays the haunting score Lux Eterna, composed by Clint Mansell. The music feels like a funeral hymn, not for a person, but for hope itself. When the film moves into fall, the cracks begin to appear. Plans start falling apart. Decisions become desperate. Sarah becomes increasingly dependent on the pills. Her loneliness begins to transform into hallucinations. Her small apartment slowly becomes a place where reality and illusion blur together. And when winter arrives, everything collapses. There is no redemption. No last-minute miracle. Only consequences. In the final moments of the film, all 4 characters end up in completely different places. But they share one haunting image. Each of them lies curled up in the fetal position, a posture humans instinctively return to when they feel pain, or when they desperately need protection. But by that point in the story, there is no one left to protect them. And that's why so many people describe Requiem for a Dream the same way. It's an extraordinary film, one of the most powerful portrayals of addiction ever made. But once you've seen it, you might never want to experience it again. Because the film isn't just about drugs. It's about dreams. And what happens when the very thing meant to give life meaning slowly destroys it. 2. Grave of the Fireflies. Let me tell you about an animated film that many people consider a masterpiece. And yet, they say they never want to watch it again. The film is Grave of the Fireflies, released in 1988 by Studio Ghibli. At first glance, you might assume it's just another animated movie. But this story proves something important. Animation can carry the weight of the most devastating human tragedies. The film takes place in Japan during the final months of World War II. But unlike most war stories, the film doesn't focus on battles. There are no heroic soldiers, no strategic victories. Instead, the entire story revolves around 2 children, a teenage boy named Seita and his little sister, Setsuko. After their city is destroyed by bombing, the two siblings are forced to survive on their own. Not in the middle of combat, but in something quieter, and sometimes even more brutal. Hunger, isolation, and a world where adults are struggling just to survive themselves. What makes the story especially painful is its perspective. We experience everything through the eyes of children. Seita tries to act strong. He wants to protect his sister. He wants Setsuko to believe that everything will eventually be okay. But the world around them grows colder. People who once showed kindness become distant. Not because they are cruel, but because war has drained compassion out of daily life. When everyone is struggling to survive, helping others becomes harder. And slowly, the two children begin to disappear from society's attention. Throughout the film, one fragile symbol keeps appearing: fireflies. At night, they glow beautifully. Tiny lights floating in the darkness. To Setsuko, they feel magical, like little stars that make the night less frightening. But by morning, the fireflies are gone. They only live for a single night. In one unforgettable scene, Setsuko gently buries the fireflies in the ground, and she asks a simple question. A question that breaks the audience's heart. Why do fireflies have to die so soon? It's not really a question about insects. It's about children. Children whose lives are cut short by war. Another unusual thing about the film is how it begins. The very first scene shows Seita collapsing in a train station. Weak, alone, and dying. From that moment on, the audience already knows the ending. The rest of the film simply shows how it happened. By removing hope from the beginning, the story becomes even more painful. Every small moment feels fragile, because we already know where it leads. What makes the tragedy even heavier is the contrast in the animation itself. Studio Ghibli is famous for warm colors and beautiful imagery, and in this film, those soft visuals remain. The sky is peaceful. The countryside is quiet. But beneath that beauty lies something heartbreaking. A story about loss, about innocence, and about how war destroys the smallest and most vulnerable lives first. Director Isao Takahata once explained that the film wasn't meant to manipulate the audience into crying. Instead, it was meant to remind people of something simple. War is not just history. It's not just numbers or dates. War is made of individual lives, families, children, and sometimes the quiet tragedies that the world forgets too quickly. 3. Come and See. Let me tell you about a war film that many people say feels less like a movie and more like a nightmare you're forced to witness. The film is called Come and See, released in 1985 and directed by Elim Klimov. Unlike many war films, this story doesn't focus on heroes. There are no triumphant speeches, no glorious victories. Instead, the film shows something far more disturbing: what war does to the human mind. The story follows a young boy named Floria. At the beginning of the film, Floria is still innocent, curious, excited. When he finds a buried rifle and joins a group of resistance fighters, he believes he's stepping into an adventure, a chance to become brave, a chance to matter. But within days, that illusion disappears. The war Floria experiences is not heroic. It's chaotic, terrifying, and deeply confusing. One of the most powerful moments in the film happens after a bombing explosion. Floria survives the blast. But something changes. For several minutes, the sound design shifts completely. Instead of normal audio, the audience hears a constant ringing noise, a distorted world. just like someone suffering from severe hearing damage. The viewer becomes disoriented, uncomfortable, unable to escape the sensation. It's not just a sound effect. It's a way of forcing the audience to feel the trauma alongside the character. As the story progresses, something even more unsettling happens. Floria's face begins to change. At the beginning, he looks like a child. But by the end of the film, his expression is completely different. His eyes are hollow. His face looks older, worn down. Even though only a few days have passed in the story, Floria appears decades older. War has stripped away his childhood almost instantly. The film contains several sequences that many viewers never forget. One takes place in a village. Civilians are gathered together in a building. What follows is one of the most disturbing depictions of wartime brutality ever filmed. There's no heroic music, no dramatic speeches, only raw human cruelty. Another powerful sequence takes place in a swamp. Floria and a girl named Glacia struggle through thick mud while trying to escape. They fall, they crawl, they push forward. The scene feels less like an escape and more like two people trying to climb out of a world that is slowly pulling them down. But perhaps the most unsettling element of the film is the camera itself. Many scenes end with characters staring directly into the lens, looking straight at the audience, as if they are asking a question about responsibility, about memory, about war itself. Because Come and See is not a film about victory. It is a film about destruction. Not just the destruction of cities, but the destruction of innocence. And once you see war through the eyes of a child like Floria, it becomes very difficult to see it as something heroic ever again. Some movies are meant to be watched again and again, but others only need to be seen once. Not because they're bad, but because after watching them, you feel like something inside you has changed. So I want to ask you something. Have you ever watched a movie that you knew you would never watch again? If you have, tell me the title in the comments. And if you want to discover more films that leave a lasting impact, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next story.